Hi guys, thanks for joining us. My motto in life is your attitude, not your aptitude, will determine your altitude. What's that mean? It means that if you really want to achieve something, you certainly can. No matter what you may have gone through in your life, and by all intents and purposes, I'm sure we've all been there, done that, with many obstacles in our lives. It's about keeping motivated and also about thinking, what should I do next and how should I approach that? In my opinion, the best way to do this is to really stay positive. If you stay positive in life, you can continue to do whatever you want to do. My personal experience, and I'll give you a brief resume here of myself. I grew up in the UK as a working class boy. My father was in the military. We travelled extensively across Southeast Asia and Europe. By the time I was 11 years of age, my father had had enough of life and decided to up sticks and away, and left myself and my mother with 5 cents in Australia. Nothing, in other words. So the basis of that was, it made me look at things obviously somewhat more differently. My mother, though, was a very stoic Scottish woman who continued on to look after me, being the only one left in the family, child. And she was a really good example to me of what a work ethic could be. She worked 6 and 7 days a week to make sure that we had a roof over our heads, even though sometimes it wasn't the best roof over our heads. We didn't have a lot to eat. Sometimes it was mashed potato with a bit of cheese on top, and sometimes even worse than that. I then went on to do many jobs in my life, from driving a truck to installing televisions, from selling, and then finally I got involved in door-to-door selling when I was 22 years of age. In fact, my first job interview regarding that was, yes, we can give you a job that will make you $75,000 a year. I thought, wow, I've only been making 15 grand. This is fantastic. What have I got to do? And they said, well, what you got to do first is do what we tell you to do, and go out there and we'll show you how to make a lot of money. So, having no other knowledge of professional selling, I did do what they told me to do. I did learn a lot more about professional selling. I did learn what it's like to be face-to-face with people, and I also learned what it's like to live on a straight commission basis. My first interview was, as I said, was basically getting down to, what do I get in this job? And they said, well, we'll give you whatever you want to have. What do you want to have as an income? I said, wow, 40,000 a year would be great. They said, what about 80,000 a year? I said, fantastic, what have I got to do? They said, apply the principles we'll show you to do, and you will make that sort of money and more. So blindly I was led, and I understood what was happening to me. And then I'm knocking on doors, and I'm seeing people, and I'm learning how to take rejection and deal with it, which is what people should do more and more in this life, because it's not about taking things personally. These are reactions to your questions, not about you as a person. Once you understand that, you can then move on with your life. In my first year, I made $74,000, a bit short of the $75,000, and I'm now talking about 45 years ago. That was a lot of money in Australia at that time. The average wage was about $18,000 a year. I was a 22-year-old young guy making $74,000 a year. Amazing amount of money at that time. What did I do with it? Well, as most 22-year-old guys do, I spent it. I bought lots of nice cars, had a good time with nice ladies. And the old question, I suppose, that goes on, what did you do with all your money? Well, I spent most of it on fast cars and women, and the rest of it I just wasted. That's about what happened to me. On the basis of that, though, I then continued on and learnt my trade even more so, and learnt more about motivation, which kept me going. It got me out of the doldrums of being a child of a single mother who had no money, nowhere to go, and my own motivation drove me on to push myself to achieve what I thought I could do. On the basis of that, I then went on to sell many things, door to door and other commission-based situations. Eventually, you know, over the next 10 years or so, I averaged around about $150,000 a year on straight commission. I never ever, from my age of 22 to today, and I'm 65 years of age, ever had a salary. I've always worked on straight commission because I know what my strengths and weaknesses are, and you should too. And I then applied those strengths to what I knew best, which was dealing with people. If you want to deal with people, just look at your family. You deal with it every day of the week. I remember my son when he was a small boy, and this is one thing about children. He's now a 35-year-old man, but as a small boy, 6 years of age, he said to me, "Dada, we should go to the supermarket and the shops and we can buy things for ourselves." At this point of time, I had a very low ebb in my life and wasn't really making a lot of commission at this point of time. So along we went to the shops, and this was the time of the video games of Sonic the Hedgehog and whatever. And we went in there, and of course we were in this big supermarket, and there's these video games. "Dad, let's go to the video games." So we went across the video games, and off we went there. He said, "Oh, we could play this game, you and me together. I could sit on your knee and you can play with me, and we could really get really good at this, you know, Dada." One thing about children is that they have an enthusiasm that is infectious. As adults, we lose that. We lose that enthusiasm, and what happens to it? Kids just have a natural enthusiasm, and it's, you know, there's one thing about selling, which is enthusiasm is contagious. If you're enthusiastic about something, everyone else will be enthusiastic too. Isn't that great? So if you try and transfer your feelings of enthusiasm to other people, they too will be enthused by your enthusiasm. That's the basis of it, selling. Selling is merely a transference of feelings. So let me give you an idea. Children are the best salespeople in the world because they don't give up. As adults, we give up. At the first hurdle, "Oh, it's too hard, forget it, it's too hard." Kids don't give up. So we continued through our little romp through the supermarket, and so, "Dad, let's go back to the video games. Come on, video games. We go back, and I said, "But Reese, I can't afford that. It's too expensive." No. If you just try, Dad, we can get that. We can play together. It'll be okay." I said, "I can't afford it. It's too expensive. I can't afford it. I've got no money." No. We can do. Come on, you can help me. We can get there. We can do it together. You and me together. We can do this. We can get this game, Dad. I said, "Oh my God, I don't want to let him down. What am I going to do? I couldn't afford this game." And I said, "Look, tell you what I'll do, son. There's a Latin saying that says, quid pro quo. Do you know what it means?" And he said, "No, Dad, I don't." I said, "Well, it means something for something." "Oh, okay. So if I buy that video game for you, Reese, what are you going to do for me?" And he thought for a moment or so, and he said, "Dada, I give you a big kiss." So, of course, we walked out of the supermarket with that video game, and I'm $75 lighter that I couldn't really afford. And that just shows you the persistence of children. We need to keep that inner child within ourselves when it comes to selling as well. It's just a case of, look, it's a numbers game. We will not get every sale if we try. It's as simple as that. But if you keep pushing, you'll get there. Now I'll continue on for my story. From that point on, I continued selling, made a bit more money again, and did a few more sales. And then around about 1998, I had a medical problem. I had a massive stroke, which put me in hospital for a number of months. It was a mental battle, and it was also a physical battle. It made me weaker on the left side of my body because it was a stroke in the brain called a brain attack. I did my best to recover after 12 months or so, and to most people, to all intents and purposes, I'd recovered, but I'm still very weak. I then went on to get involved in a bit of internet marketing and did pretty well at that as well. Even though I knew nothing about the internet, I thought, well, this is fantastic, I'll learn this. Went across to the UK, which I'd never ever worked in before because I'd lived most of my life in Australia, from being a child to an adult. I built up a company over there that within 2 years had turned over about £4 million. And I sold that company for £1.5 million and came back to Australia, mainly because I missed my son, who was still here. I came back, and then I looked around for what I would do. I did many, many dead-end jobs, telemarketing and whatever. Even though I had money, I knew I wanted to work and do so. I didn't have to work, but I wanted to do something. And then finally I met this, I suppose you'd call him a shyster or a con man. I won't mention his name. And I started selling water tanks and water purification systems, which was reasonably lucrative. And he said to me one day, he said, Rob, you know, this solar thing seems pretty good. We should get involved in that. Oh, I'm not interested in that. I didn't know anything about solar. This is 2008, 2009. And then he said to me, oh, come on, if you can write me a presentation, in which I had experience in doing so, and go out and sell some of these solar panels and stuff, we'll see how we go. So I spent the weekend and wrote a presentation based on my previous experience of professional face-to-face selling and door-to-door selling. And he gave me 4 leads, and I went out that weekend and sold 3 out of the 4. I made myself around about, excuse me, $2,000, which was a good enough commission. And he was stoked. He thought, this is fantastic. What are we going to do? Let's go for it, Rob. I said, well, you know, there's a few things I want to put in place before we do that, because we know you trust me and I trust you. This is a handshake. I'll build up a business for you based on the fact that X amount of dollars comes my way, X amount of dollars goes your way, and we're all happy. That's great, fantastic. Yeah, great, fantastic. So 6 months down the track, we'd got to that point and we'd made a good amount of money. I was happy with that. So was this person. But all of a sudden, things changed, as it does with people when they get greedy and when they don't recognize when they have someone within their midst who is good at what they do. So consequently, I was asked, look, I can't really keep paying you that amount of commission we agreed on. I'm going to cut it in half. I said, well, you know, I thought we had a gentleman's agreement, so that's the basis of how we started our business relationship. I really think that it should stay the way it is. No, it's not going to. So I got cut off very tersely, very tersely. All of a sudden, things had changed. I said, so what are we going to do? Well, you either accept that or you leave. I said, well, in that case, I'll leave. Oh, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm going to start a solar company and I'm going to show you how it's really fucking done. So I did, and it drove me out of that place, and with $2,000 I started a solar business. Now, within 3 years, I had turned over $12 million. I had 40 people working for me, and I had built up a business that was probably one of the largest solar companies in Australia. Over the next 10 years, we did 26,000 installations in Australia, Australia-wide, and I made a fair bit of money, and I did quite well for myself. That came off the back of me being a door-to-door salesperson. That can be done by anybody who applies themselves and wants to get where they want to be. I'm now in a position where I'm, I suppose you'd say, retired, even though I don't want to be retired. So anybody out there looking at this vlog, if you've got a good idea and you want a good salesperson who can help you build that up, as long as there's some dollars in it for me, talk to me and we'll see how we go. That's my first vlog for you guys today, and I hope that we can move on and move forward, and I can show you more about how to become motivated and at the same time monetized. Thank you for your time.